Jacinta Price, Senator from the Northern Territory. She's the heart and soul of the No campaign. We had a chance to talk as she arrived in the pivotal state of South Australia. First question, how's she holding up?
I'm absolutely fired up, Paul. I'm fired up. You know me. I'm very passionate about Australia, about this country. I don't want to see any harm come to our nation. I don't want to see racial division or any of those things. I don't want to see our marginalised become further marginalised, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that that doesn't occur. And that's what this is about. For me, I'm fighting on behalf of every single Australian, but most importantly, our most marginalised and those who've not had a voice and who won't get a voice through this ridiculous proposal.
Well, again, I want everyone to go and see the speech, long form of it, go and watch it raw, because while people, as always, focus on the questions and the colonisation nonsense, you made many, many essential points. That one of the reasons you don't like the concept of what's being put in front of us is the same people who are always ignored will continue to be ignored, and the same people who've always been spoken to will continue to be spoken to. But you also made a point that I don't think enough people have paid attention to, which was that under the existing system, say the Aboriginal land councils, the ones that, of course, making so many of these claims around the country, they're pretty cashed up. Yet when you and even Lydia Thorpe got together to try to have an audit to go, OK, what do you own? How much do you have? How do you spend it? Labor and the Greens and some of the crossbench, they said no. Now, if they're willing to say no now, does that give us a preview of what you think might happen post-Voice with accountability?
Oh, look, when it comes to accountability, they will absolutely, they don't want accountability. Labor doesn't want accountability for all the friends that support them when it comes to every single election. One of the women that attended the National Press Club address, Levinas, she's in the middle of chemotherapy right now. She's a traditional owner who has had her rights as a traditional owner trampled on, whose voice, she wanted to make sure her voice is being heard. She had practically begged Senator David Pocock to support this inquiry into land councils, statutory authorities, native title, Aboriginal organisations, so that she could finally have her voice heard, so that the inquiry would give an opportunity for those people that are basically, they're affected by these organisations when they're not serving the most vulnerable. She was upset at the National Press Club address. She had fired off a few comments before I started, and obviously the press that were there didn't pick up and follow on with her on those issues. But they're the people that I'm fighting for. She's in the middle of chemo. You've got Senator David Pocock ignoring her calls. You've got Labor and the Teals and everybody else ignoring these grassroots women from these communities, and the Prime Minister suggesting that we should vote for this voice to Parliament because that will be the endorsement, the stamp of endorsement for the Aboriginal voices that he and his government are prepared to listen to. They're not prepared to listen to the voices screaming at them right now, and that's why it is so important that we say no when it comes to this referendum.
One of my longest friends, I had a chance to talk to her, and she's not particularly political, but I was talking to her today, and she has told me that she has literally switched from no to yes and yes to no almost every 2 days because she's being pulled by one part of the family that very much is in the no camp and talk about what the potential consequences is, another part of the family that says, the vibe is necessary, and that new ad that's been launched by the Yes campaign, it's the decent thing to do. I don't mean to do this to you, but in a national platform, to the people who are like this, where they are being told by both sides that there's only one way to go, what do you say to the person who has been going from no to yes or yes to no multiple times during this campaign about why they should end up with no?
Well, basically, it's not about how you feel, right? It's not about your feelings in this. It's not about appeasing non-Indigenous guilt in this country. This is a very serious proposition that is before us, and what they need to do is ask that the Prime Minister has not provided the absolute evidence or demonstrated concisely how it is supposed to, in fact, improve the lives of anybody. All he's done is chatted off talking points, suggested it's only an advisory, when nowhere within the chapter or the question does the word advice, advise or advisory is it stipulated, which suggests that he is basically lying to the Australian people. And these are all red flags, basically. These are all red flags, and these are the questions that Australians need to be asking on the detail. How is it supposed to actually give Aboriginal people a voice? I mean, this new ad that they've brought out, they're now trying to pull at the heartstrings by using an Aboriginal boy to ask, will his voice be heard? Well, firstly, that young child, he's streaks ahead of the rest because his first language is English. He's got great English before him. I'd suggest he's going to have a great education, which this country will provide him, so he will have plenty of opportunity going forward. It is our most marginalised who are being exploited for this, for the purpose of a power transfer to those people who have had a seat at the table for decades. Make no mistake, that's what this is about. And Aboriginal people around the country on a grassroots level are saying no.